And then I'm going to share my screen. My name's Tracy Pepe. Nice to meet you, Dana. And I'm going to do a
Oh,
presentation. Oh, that is my big, beautiful. I just put him down, actually.
oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, me too. Uh,
Gorgeous, gorgeous doggy.
that was Gordon, and he had severe bone cancer. So
Oh dear.
it's been a hell of a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, it has not been fun. So.
No, it never is at all.
Not when your lover disappears. And anyway, yeah, my dog. Thank you.
Keep talking.
Um,
I'm just gonna see if I can find some speakers because
sure,
it's a
sure.
little quiet on my end. But keep talking, I can hear you.
So we're gonna focus on scent therapy and what it means to fill your cup, how to take care of yourself, the applications of wellness, and what this all means to the world. Um, I'll start with who I am. Myself because many people don't know who I am. So I have been a perfumer for 30 years. It's my original training. I worked for some of the largest companies in the world, and my job was to scent spaces, which is a unique job, um, where my goal was to basically manipulate consumers to spend more money, bottom line, to linger, to hang around, to have less agitation, and
Sorry.
the amount, that's okay, got a volume. The amount of research within the private sector is quite astounding. And so the large corporations know that scent is a huge part of cognition, memory, it's linked to emotional, and they know the power of it from a dollar perspective. So when COVID hit, I spent a lot of time in the hotel space, and so everything was in lockdown. I had a second location at Pearson International, which was in full lockdown. And then we had another location in Brampton. And so it became very apparent to me that the world of scent and the way I used to run it as a corporation, I really wanted to pivot. And one of the things that I saw pivoting is I did my TED Talk. And when I was in Dubai doing that talk, I was in front of the World Health Organization, and COVID was actually starting in Asia. And so I just got in on the tail of that. And so I really understood from a scientific perspective what happens because we were hearing that individuals were going to lose their sense of smell. And we know as perfumers that your depression rate skyrockets up to, you have an 80% higher rate of actually getting depression, anxiety, various different mental disorders because scent is such a huge part of the limbic system. So this is my son on the right. This is Adrian. Adrian's on the spectrum. He is 33, lives successfully on his own with his partner. I was us Christmas shopping last year. Um, he has a great job, but I have had a child navigating this world for many, many years. And then on the left is my older sister, Linda, who is in long-term care. We just recently transitioned her there, and she's schizophrenic bipolar, and she's kind of the introduction to where this scent therapy story kind of began. So a lot of people think what I do is aromatherapy, and actually it is not. It has nothing to do with aromatherapy. Aromatherapy, from a clarification standpoint, is utilizing scent for the chemical materials found in some of these oils and potentially what it could do to the body. It's usually a topical application generally, and it is based on not science, it's based on folk medicine and tradition. And so this is something that I come across in long-term care homes because people use essential oils framing it as aromatherapy and thinking that this is what I'm doing, and it's not. Our work is strictly based on smell. And the focus of it is the brain, and this is where we have smelly, fabulous things. 5 minutes, people don't use their sense of smell. That's the first thing I know. 78.4% of individuals in long-term care homes from our data shows they have minimal to no sense of smell. And so that opens the door to a lot of problems. And I'm actually working with the Minister of Long-Term Care to put recommendations in the intake process, as you would ask about dentures, glasses, what you like to eat, what activities. The question should be also added, can you smell something? Because scent impacts, olfaction impacts your sleep patterns, how you eat and what you eat, digestion in particular, and your emotional regulation. So what I always talk about with scent is we have very simple aromatic materials that are around us on a daily basis. I use essential oils, but I also use a variety of different things. And so this is classic. This is an herbal tea mix. It's green tea. It's got a lot of fun things. Comes from Newfoundland. And when you're smelling, you close your mouth, close your eyes, and wave it across the nose. And there was some great research that I just published yesterday about knowing they took 70 long-term care homes, people who cannot smell, generally Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's patients. Even though they can't smell, certain scents still trigger their brain and still have an impact on their overall wellness, even though they can't identify it. So we know this has happened with individuals prior because identification of a scent is one thing, but it's not mandatory. In fact, after about 7 to 8 intake sessions, what ends up happening is the brain is stimulated, and often individuals who haven't smelled for a long period of time, they start to regain their sense of smell. If they don't have a sense of smell, they have no sense of taste. And so this is something that has always been amazing to me is long-term care homes that we have come across. Many of them have issues with eating. Many have an issue with engagement, sleep problems, various different wellness issues. And yet, from my understanding, they haven't asked if any of these people have actually a sense of smell. So this is emotional-based care. This is what we focus on. It is wellness focused. The main areas we really target are fear, anxiety, sadness, emotional regulations, concentration. Those are the 5 main pillars that are really fundamental to the work that we do. And if we get a benefit of sleeping through the night or eating a meal or having a wellness where we're happy, and if we get any of those wonderful things as the side effects, then that is part of the journey with this. But our focus really is on the wellness. So we usually come across the second objection, the first one being aromatherapy based, the second one being scent-free or scent-free policy. And scent-free is outdated in fact, I have not come across anybody who has an updated policy to be scent friendly. And what does a scent-free policy actually look like? How do you enforce it? And is it actually current with occupational health standards? And so I help homes get to that point. And it is not scent that we're really interested in banning. It is alcohols, phosphates, and fillers that are generally found in perfumes, which usually cause the trigger of scent sensitivities. And that is usually what needs to be eliminated. And that's very common. And that is something that we demonstrate, set up a policy, how is it enforced? But now this also gives Vicky's entry. We now have an opportunity to now, if you have an individual that is wearing perfume in the long-term care home, you now can identify what that is. Where a regular scent-free policy, the majority of the time, you can't enforce it because the policies I've seen, they don't identify anything. So this is something I offer. I also have a Zoom link, a webinar link on my YouTube channel, and I'll help you draft it. I'll give you some basic information if that is a barrier. We are in hospitals. I guess the number one restrictive space that I have been in is the Region Appeal. The Region Appeal has probably the strictest scent-free policies, and we're in all 6 of their long-term care homes, 2 of their hospitals, and many of their facilities. So I know these things are possible. It just requires a little bit of education and open willingness to change some direction. So well, the intake process is something that I'm focusing on. We have a small intake kit. As I said, I'm working with the MPP down at Queen's Park. I'm trying to lobby her to start to acknowledge and to understand really and truthfully why this intake process is so critical, starting with it, but also understanding, because if it's smelling is very much like taste. So for example, when I smell this or you smell your coffee, you're going to smell a note. And then you're going to go back to it. And if you want to join me in the process of olfaction, pick up your scent and you're going to smell something. And now that you're focused on it and your eyes are closed and your mouth is closed and you're smelling, smell again. And you should smell something different. And this is the interesting part to olfaction. And a sommelier is a sommelier that actually distinguishes the various different notes found in liquor, and that is their job. Perfumers, we do the same thing. Chefs do the same thing. And so there are professions that actually identify the smells. And so we're acting like a dog in some ways, where we're trying to identify what those smells are. The most incredible part to this process, which I personally love, is the fragrance industry around the world does not have a vocabulary. It is not like the music industry, where a sheet of music is a sheet of music. And if you play it in France, it's going to be the same sound as if you play it in Italy. The olfactive process or language is not the same. In fact, that is one of the challenges and also benefits to our industry. There is no right or wrong information, and that's why perception is very important. Now, we have a scale, obviously, that we follow. There's descriptive notes that we work with, there's categories, and there's things that we know. So, for example, with the intake process, it has been broken down after COVID that there is actually 4 primary scent categories that trigger 4 specific areas of the brain, very similar to taste, where there's 5, and sometimes there's 6 with Unami. So understanding that when we smell, whatever that scent is, I may say, oh, this smells like citrus and grapefruit and lime. And someone else may say, no, this is a lemon scent. And if it's a citrus category where there's a combination of all those things, then no one's right and no one's wrong. And one of the things that I love about doing this, especially when I was a kid, I used to do this game, scent game, when I was a kid with my older sister. And we used to blindfold ourselves and we used to smell and try to guess. No one's right and no one's wrong. So in long-term care, where this becomes really advantageous is when you're talking about scent, it opens up the discussion and the communication with people, because there's a sharing element to this work. And we recently did a webinar in person, or a seminar in person, and we passed around some scents, and the room got really chatty and everyone was interrupting each other and they were telling, this reminds me of this. And that is the purpose. And I let people go on that, and I let them conversate. And 20 minutes went by and they were wondering when I was going to go back to the presentation. And I said, well, you actually are a part of the presentation because that's the point. Scent creates an incredible communication tool that allows individuals to express specifically nonverbal. Nonverbal is really an interesting process because we know from our research dealing with corporations where a lot of times we're not allowed to talk to an end consumer. We just have to see how the scent is impacting them. There's multiple verbal cues that we teach in our program so people understand what is happening to the individual. There's an issue with olfaction, specifically with long-term care. Relating to children, children have an acute sense of smell. It's just not developed. And that is something that I love working with as well, because children's scents are really sharp. However, they're the opposite. They haven't had the palate. They haven't experienced asparagus or the smells of brandies or cognacs or been on beaches. And so their brain hasn't created that story. What scent does do, and it's interesting when it comes to eating, and I know this impacts children as well, especially on the spectrum. A lot of them have tactile issues and they don't want to eat. Smelling is an encouragement that stimulates digestive juices and actually helps with the process. It becomes part of the storytelling. With seniors, it stimulates appetite, improves digestion, and it enhances the flavor perception that you're working with. We have done pilots because that's what we do is after the training, we work with the homes to customize where their areas of focus would like to be. And then we help them set up pilots so we can gauge, so we can understand what kind of improvements. And I know with accreditation, some of our homes have used scent therapy as a part of their accreditation process to increase their 4 hours, to increase their engagement. Because our goal is to help you utilize what you already have by expanding the tools to make it better. Scent therapy works specifically with sleep. It fosters a faster sleep onset, enhances sleep quality. It establishes a routine, especially a bedtime routine, and it reduces stress and anxiety. The one thing that I like to share with the program we do is we don't work with diffusers. We work with specific paper that is safe for children, seniors, individuals. They're disposable. It's a specific type of blotter paper. One drop goes a long way. You can poke your eye maybe, but can't really do much. You can write on it because it is paper. But it's a one-on-one consent. So if they don't want to participate, they don't have to. When you use a diffuser and you scent a space, you are limited to that scent until it is completely removed out of the room, as well as you then create an issue where if someone enters that room and doesn't want to be in that scent or has a neurological condition that would make the scent maybe stimulate them versus calm them, then that is where diffusers sometimes can be an issue. If it is a private space, then that is something different. And we do have homes that will do that, bedrooms, for example, or one-on-one. Scent is a major impactor on isolation, and we're heading into the winter months where sometimes we don't get to go outside because the weather's really crummy or too cold. It stimulates emotion and encourages social behavior. It enhances the mood and it creates a sense of well-being and connection. And how that happens is it's not necessarily magic. It's not necessarily something that is occurring in everybody. What it is happening is there are specific raw materials that are in the scents. We work with 20. Those specific scents release hormones or decrease hormones, and they have an impact on the emotional aspect of the human. And one of the things that we're learning, and this is why we collect the data on the scent, not on the person, is we've determined that lavender actually doesn't help with sleep patterns with people with dementia or Alzheimer's. It's citrus notes because of the limonene. And the research actually backs that up. And so it's interesting because a lot of people think that, oh, I like lavender, and lavender is used for sleeping. But neuro conditions actually have the brain processing scent in a different manner. So the other aspect to scent is it encourages cognition and it boosts memory and recall and improves focus and attention. So this is something that works, I know from the experience that I've had with kids with ADD, ADHD, any kind of aspect of triggering the brain, using it as a recall tool, emotional, and slowing down the cognitive decline. There's quite a bit of research, specifically on dementia, on how it doesn't obviously cure it, but it helps because 15 minutes of scent therapy is equivalent to an hour of playing chess. And so that type of mental stimulation on the brain is really quite extensive. It highly influences taste. In fact, if you can't smell, you can't taste. In fact, most people who have COVID have lost or lowered their sense of smell considerably, and we don't know it. Some of it has come back on its own, but scent therapy is like physiotherapy for the brain. And the good news is your sense of smell and taste can come back in certain circumstances, not to the fullest, but it definitely enhances. And one of the things that's very interesting in my profession is the older you become, the better you are at your work. And sense of smell increases, it becomes much more sharp. And it is one of the last scents to actually be totally diminished, where sometimes your hearing can completely go, sight, but smell is one of those senses that if it is worked and if it is utilized, it is actually around for a long period of time, even in the state of a coma and even in the state of palliative care. And so they know there's brain activity still occurring with scent. These are some of the tools that we focus on. We provide a kit that is color coded. Our whole system is really simple because we're used to working with adults and we understand adult learning is very different. It is a web-based training program. We break it down into 4 modules. Each module is approximately 60 minutes, possibly 75. There's a question period. We go through safety, usage, research, and we start with 5 oils each class. And 5 scents are really important because then there's an activity that you usually go away with and you implement it. And then when we come back, we recap and then I help and I say, okay, what kind of feedback did you get? What kind of problems did you experience? This is a new way of thinking. And so it's a new approach. And so anything new with anybody takes time. And I've learned over the years, we can make this go faster, but the best approach is that we implement it over 4 to 6 months. After we develop this and we move the process, inside the kit are these great reference cards. And a lot of the homes use these reference cards, and if they choose to have an oil or a few oils and leave it in a rec room, they'll put the reference card, for example, on the wall, and maybe they'll have a sticker or something so that everyone knows what scent is there and what it's being used for, so that it's easier and it's something that you can work with. So for example, I have homes that, for example, who use scent therapy prior 15 minutes to educate and to teach people it's time for yoga. It's time for exercise. We're going in the rec room. This stimulates, people get excited. They know that particular scent. Then inside the rec room, the scent is passed around and it's pleasant. It's mandarin, it's tangerine. It's something that is really uplifting. And the instructor usually talks. And as they're sharing that scent, the engagement starts. And that's what they're looking for. after they do their exercise program, and then the individual takes the scent back. And we've had homes that have had to add extra exercise class because word gets out that it's actually really fun and exciting and they love it. Something that simple. So part of the program is using what you already do, taking your calendars, your recreation, your school programs, whatever those educational tools are, and we work with you to implement the scent into the program so that it works to the benefits of what you're doing. One of my background specialties is I used to scent for hotels. And a hotel in California has a different customer base and experience than a hotel in Portugal. And so, even though it was the same brand, my job was to customize the scent profile to match the demographics. And so, that is one of the skill sets that I'm very good at. Everybody provides me their their calendar at the end, and then I help them set up their programs and say, maybe you should do that. We do things like the smell game, which is a one-on-one experience, which is a fantastic tool for family. We have a wonderful video. I'm just waiting for it to be released because it's from one of our homes. One of their directors, their mother is actually in long-term care home, and she did the smell game and videotaped because she finds it frustrating. What do we talk about? What conversations do we have? We're trying to create new memories in a long-term care home when family doesn't live there and there's a lot of guilt. And the scent game is a fantastic tool because now it becomes that their family's involved and things change. And this is something that is easily documented, but it also helps the family notice if there's any changes. And I just went through that process with my sister where her dementia is moving in much faster than I anticipated. And it all started because when we were there, I was doing some scent with her or sharing some scents with her, and she couldn't smell. And so I actually had some testing done and I caught it. And one of the things that we see is I just came across an individual who has lost her sense of smell 12 years ago and just was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And the average time frame with Parkinson's is 8 years from the time they lose their sense of smell to when they're diagnosed. If that diagnostic could be sped up, do you imagine how much time families would have to prepare to adjust? And especially with long-term care home wait lists into the years, this becomes an opportunity for everyone to kind of know these are the changes happening to my loved one, and let's work with it. But because doctors and medical people and individuals are not paying attention to these early detections, we're missing this. A nickel plus a penny is something that I like to talk about because it is truly the only cost once you get going of implementing scent therapy. It's averages 6 cents. So when you use a blotter stick and a drop of scent and you have up to 5 cents and you pass them around or you use them in the cups on a cotton ball, however way you deploy it, the average cost to a program is 6 cents. So from an economic standpoint, you're not increasing your recreational costs. We're actually enhancing some of the benefits because we're making those recreation programs more engaging. Color is really great because color and smell have an incredible integration. And we know, and there's a seminar I do on this called Sensorial Design, and it's the premise of adding one sensorial component like taste, color, music, and putting them together. And what happens. And I have many homes who have taken music therapy and scent therapy, combine them, and their programs are really profound because it has a dynamic effect on the brain because we know one plus another sensory equals 3 times the impact. So as I said, we're a web-based program. which makes us accessible. I'm very proud to share that we're moving into British Columbia and Alberta. And it's because we deal with homes all across the country. Our focus is Canada, and our focus is really the Family Council of Ontario, the Alzheimer's Society, Advantage Age, and the Region Appeal, because I live in the region, and the butterfly program is very intricate up here in this program. And so this is something that I pay attention to quite frequently. We do have an online store for family members or individuals if that is something that is trying to find quality essential oils or quality raw materials. I have books, I have training. We start you with a kit. Depending on the size of the home, you may need 2 or 3 kits. Part of the wellness program is, and I learned this from one of my homes, is the BSU credits that are part of the learning of the nursing envelope covers the cost of this program. And so we have incorporated 2 types of pricing. One, if you want some diffusers, and the other, if you just want the training. And then that way the whole program can be taken out of the line through the money that is provided through the nursing envelope. We do a lot of learning, a lot of education. I have a TED Talk, we have books, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn. We have an incredible base. And I started my LinkedIn group called the Olfactive Group 16 years ago, before LinkedIn actually was as successful as it is. And what I did is I set it up to be worldwide so that I have some of the most advanced research paper in olfaction coming to me, and then we share it. We do a monthly newsletter that's part of the program, and it continues. And we offer a variety of different tools to really, really help individuals implement the scent and implement what we do. Does anybody have any specific questions? No? All right. Well, I want to thank you for your opportunity to have your time. I'm going to send the link out to everybody. So if you want to share it, we put this up on YouTube, and it gives you an oversight of the program. It provides you some issues, or it addresses the issues, but it talks about solutions as well. And if you have any particular questions at all, please email me, and I'll make sure I put my email in the chat box. And it's Smelling Pink, sorry. And where does Smelling Pink come from? I will say this. I did a fantastic program with the University of Toronto and also with the Synesthesia Association. And people don't realize there is an association called synesthesia. And synesthesia is a neurological condition that impacts the brain. It's considered to be 1 in a million. And what happens is the wires in the brain cross over. And so they smell color, they hear taste, they feel color. Their connections are mixed with this condition, which becomes a curse, and it also becomes a very fascinating conversation piece, but it can be very difficult. And the most common aspect of synesthesia is through sound, or taste. Sound and taste seem to be the 2. Anyway, perfumers study this because we find it fascinating on the intricacies within the brain. But the University of Toronto has an incredible devoted program to this. And I presented what colors smell like at a symposium. And so I learned one of the most common identification is most people can, in their mind, decide what the smell of pink should be for them. So it is not something that is not unheard of. And in the marketing worlds, we know what that looks like, because there's a color usually associated to a product, and it's usually associated to a scent. So Smelling Pink has a story behind it. as well as it's a communication color. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity, and Debbie will either reach out to you and follow up, or if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Thanks again, everybody. We will sign off.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day, everyone.
You
Bye,
too. Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.